what you said I get. you said I get.
Alrighty, we're live. Hey guys, how's it going? Today with me I have my co-host Mina. And with us, the very special guest, we got Sabian Lockhart, aka CleavingThought from Bone. How you doing, dude?
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. Happy to be here.
Mother Nature has decided to fuck with the technology on both mine and Sabian's end, so if I cut it in and out, that's why, and that's why his microphone's acting up.
Yes, much apologies. This is what I do. Sure. I am Sabian Lockhart, aka CleavingThought from Bone. I am a horror author and YouTube content creator of horror narrations. Jason. I do. I'm a bit obsessed with the Friday the 13th. It's how I've modeled my YouTube persona to kind of give that feel, and it's how I've also kind of modeled my YouTube videos to be like an 80s type feel, at least to to the longer Saturday ones.
I actually at FYE the other day, and I saw a poster. It said Friday the 13th, Camp Crystal Lake, and then you walk. It was like one of those that changed when you moved, and then it changed over to Camp Blood, and I'm just like, fucking Sabian would love this.
That's fucking awesome. That sounds awesome. I would like that.
So I'm just gonna say it because this is the whole purpose of the stream, guys. Sabian just dropped a new book. It is the Chronicles of Locust Lake.
Legacy,
right?
the
Legacy of Locust Lake. If you all weren't aware, now you are. I would highly recommend going to buy it. I'm still waiting for my copy because I bought the hardback, which takes multiple weeks to like 3 to 4 weeks to get it. But it's definitely going to be worth it. It's from Sabian's words. It is going to be the thickness of the epic Mickey Mouse strategy guide.
Yeah, I think it's bigger. Actually, I got the hardcover version as well, so I'm waiting for my version to come too. It's also taking me a couple of weeks, but it is very close. It is almost 110,000 words long and features 25 pages of hand-drawn sketch art. And it has a book included inside the book. It also has the Journal of Todd Jacobs, which kind of lends a little bit more backstory to some of the other stories that are taking place within the rest of the book. But the journal itself is as big as my second book. So it is very much
excited.
All right. Hi, Lady Spucaria.
Yeah, why don't we say hello to the lovelies in the chat real quick?
Yes.
As you just said, hey, Lady Spucaria, it's awesome to see you. Thank you for coming.
We
have Nightmare's Mistress, aka Spooky Boo, in case you guys weren't aware that she changed her name.
Spooky.
Yeah, I kind of am still trying to get used to that change there, Spooky. So we have Jelly Bean, and apparently Ray is sitting next to her.
My Jelly Bean and my Ray are here.
We have Christine.
Unfortunately, Filia is out, so that's why Filia is not here tonight, guys.
We have Furberries.
Hey, Furberries. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, bro?
And I'm checking the participants, but that's it, I think, right now. I usually don't check that, but I did this time. And can you hear me better now, guys?
I can hear you crystal clear.
Okay. Last week there was something going on with my mic, and I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah.
But my voice was kind of gone too, so.
Apparently the mic problem is confused.
So Sabian, I remember you said you hand drew all of the pictures that are in the Legacy of Locust Lake book.
That had to be amazing.
It was a bit of an undertaking. It honestly didn't take me as long as editing the book did. I really wanted to go through each and every story with a fine-tooth comb. As you know, Doughboy420, he actually wrote the majority of the book. There's 19 stories in there, and I wrote 4.5 of them. He wrote the rest, chapters, stories. But that probably took the longest. If it wasn't for I took 2 weeks off from my job around Christmas time. And if it wasn't for that 2 weeks off from work, I wouldn't have been able to get that book done. That's basically when I was able to go through that entire manuscript. The rest of it was just, pick a day and, sit down and do a couple of drawings, and just do, one or two every day. Make sure they're, as good as I can. I am not an artist, but I wanted to do something more special for this book. In my previous books, the Dreamscape book had some hand-drawn sketch art. Some of it was taken from no copyright, free-to-use stock photos that were run through a sketch filter, and I threw them in there. And then I did that with my Halloween book that I released last year. Kind of, copied and photoshopped some free-to-use, no copyright stock photos, ran them through a sketch filter, got them sized and uploaded, underneath each, chapter title.
Right.
But I wanted to do something really special with this one because this book was so huge. It's almost twice as big as my largest book so far. So I wanted to make sure, we're going to hand draw every single picture in this book. And I did. But there's also some other things in there too, like pictures of Casper's mask. There's some pictures of the lake itself. And that I didn't draw, but I wanted to make sure I included them in Todd's journal because they just fit really well in there.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited to get my copy, man.
Yeah, I gotta get money to order mine. Hi, Dexter.
And I'm just gonna say, anybody who orders this book, I would highly recommend just getting the hardcover because honestly, it's only a couple of dollars more than getting the paperback. And if you're anything like me, you will destroy the paperback book because you read it the way you read it. So I'm a big proponent of getting hardcover. So I would highly suggest get the hardcover book.
Yeah, and it does take a little bit longer to get the hardcovers to you, but I do agree, they are more durable. And I did try to keep the prices low. I think, because all 8 of my books now are all available in hardcover, and I think there's either a $2 or a $3 price jump between the paperbacks and the hardcover. I didn't go any further than that. I didn't want to, price the books out. It's not about making money. I never sit down and write a story or create something with the intention of making money. Same thing with like the merch. I did create a new Locust Lake hat to go with the book. It's got like the color schemes of the book. It looks really great. But I make 5 cents off it because I can't make it lower. You have to make something. So I have it set as low as I could possibly get it because I don't want to make money off the merch. And I'm not really out to make, I'm not out to be rich off my writing. It's just something that I really enjoy doing, and I want to basically provide a service to the community. Start getting some really good horror out there and some things for people to read and listen to and stuff like that. So I think just money just creates a barrier that I don't want to facilitate.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen his merch, it's on his website, which is up there. It's ashland002.wixsite.com/CTFB.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to get your links pinned.
Good stuff on there. The hoodies are really nice. I will say that. Again, I don't make anything on them, but
I have a question about
hoodies.
That's what I was about to ask.
I'm sorry. What
do
did
you
you? I didn't.
Do you have zip hoodies, Sabian?
I tried making a zip hoodie for the Sociopathic Pasta limited edition hoodie that I did last October, but because of the unspecified virus of unknown origin, they weren't able to do zip-up hoodies at that moment. They were quote-unquote out of stock, and I don't know when they were going to come back into stock, so I just had to do a pullover. So currently, right now, I don't have any hoodies that are available in zip-ups. They're all pullovers, but as soon as it becomes available, I will be making a few that are available in zip-ups.
You let me know when that happens, because I hate pullover hoodies.
Sure.
Me too.
I'm a big fan of the zip up too, but I put on that, like I said, I put on that Locust Lake hoodie and it instantly became my favorite hoodie. It's very Amazon merch is not the cheapest in the world, even if I reduce the price to nothing where I'm not making anything. Their stuff is still pretty expensive, but their merch it's really good quality. So
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm considering changing my merch to Spreadshirt right now.
I haven't tried that. I use Printful.
Later, Fur.
Be safe, fur berries.
Yes, be safe, please.
Okay, there's his links. Let me get that pinned up at the top.
I know, I have so many.
Yeah, I had to take the website out, but the Amazon link I thought was more important. It's just 16 characters over what we are allowed.
Yeah, I don't make it easy.
Anybody who's not read any of Sabian's books or just watched any of his videos, you're doing yourself a disservice, because this man can write his ass off.
Yes, he does. And he is the only one who has read any of my stories. Still.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for you to send me a story.
I know.
You're fantastic. Oh, you should send me more. Send me more. Mia won a contest for me with one of her stories.
Yes, and I'm still
I'm still trying to win one of those damn contests.
You came really close in both of them. But I know the last one there was top 4, and you were in that top 4. It was a tough choice between those stories. So
that last one I wrote for you, man, I had a lot of fun with it.
And just, and I don't judge them. I am not the one that picks them out. So, even if you can't shoot the messenger because it's not me.
I'm not even mad, bro.
And the judge doesn't get names. He gets. I take all the stories and I assign them a number, and then I send him the stories with just the numbers, and then he picks a number, and then I correspond that to the name.
Yeah, I'm not even mad, bro. But yeah, I'm just like, I wrote that. I wrote it for the contest, but I wrote it for you. Because I knew the whole pumpkin spice thing you would just freaking love. So I wasn't writing essentially to win the contest. I was just writing something I knew you would love.
No, I absolutely loved the story, and I thought it was really inventive, and it was very much right up my alley. It was really, really good. I do read all the stories that come over. I do not do the judging, because I feel that it'd be hard for me to judge knowing who wrote them. Well, I'm gonna pick my favorite person. I don't, or I could be accused of doing such, and I want to avoid that. So that's why I always pick an anonymous judge and help keep things fair.
If anybody ever accused you of that, I would call them out, bro.
Right there. So definitely next contest, man, you definitely got to enter, because you've been right there every time. So
yeah, I didn't enter the last one because I won the one before, so I knew there was no chance.
Still enter. Somber entered, and he won the art contest that I ran. I told him that he wouldn't be able to win everything, but I probably would still send him a consolation prize if he got picked, and then I would just pick the second place person, and they would get all the stuff. So you could still enter. I might not give you everything that the prizes are in, because you already got, you know what I mean? A mask. So I probably would send you another mask, but I would send you a book and maybe a t-shirt or something along those lines, and then I would send all the contest prizes to the runner-up or something like that. So yes, by all means, feel free to enter.
Cool.
You'll still get things.
I tried, and the story that I started is still not finished, and it's already over 3,000 words. So
I just knew, I remember talking to Sabian. I'm like, I got no idea what to do for the story, and then for some reason we started talking about pumpkin spice, and my brain just goes, "Hey, remember the bath salts where people ate them, smoked them, and then started eating other people's faces? Take that." make it pumpkin spice, and you got yourself a party. And I'm just like, that's genius.
Party. It was a very, very good idea. Very good idea. And those are always the best stories too, when you're writing something and you're so passionate about it that you want to keep writing it because you want to know what happens next.
Yeah.
Like I'm so invested in this story and I have an idea of where I want it to go, but I want to see how it plays out, how I can use the words to describe it, and like really, get that feedback for myself. Or sometimes if the characters are driving it, I want to finish the story just to see where the characters are going to lead me, because sometimes I get really surprised by some of the very developed characters, like Andrina or Mackenzie or something like that, because they do what they want. I can't put them into a box.
And ladies,
I know that. Oh, go ahead, Susan. Go ahead, Mia.
Lady Spookaria, have a good night, and she will have a live stream tomorrow, but I don't know what time right now. And hi, CCG.
Okay.
But,
good night, lady.
Yeah, good night, lady. But Sammy, I know that all too well. There was a story, and I'm pretty sure you've probably heard it. Gosh, what was it? I'm gonna have to look it up. But it was the Banshee story that I did, where like it was calling through the phone. And the main character was supposed to be just this normal main character. He's supposed to be nice and he's just well liked. And as I'm writing it, he just starts. My brain just starts making him make these very snarky and just asinine comments, and I'm like, my main character's an asshole.
Well, and
it happens sometimes though. Like you make the character and then you give them certain attributes, and if you stick to those attributes, they can really develop a personality of their own. And to do anything against that personality, it's out of character.
Yes.
So you gotta go with what the character would do, and the character sometimes does whatever the hell they want or becomes an asshole when you don't want them to be. But unfortunately, that's the byproduct of good writing.
And it wasn't even like it happened in the middle of the story. No, it was in like the first 3 paragraphs. He just starts mocking one of the actors, and I'm like, oh, it was called When It Calls, I think. But he just starts mocking his friend, and I'm just like, he's an asshole.
There's sometimes it works out like that. I wrote a story not too long ago about an author who gets a visit from the devil. And I kind of assigned the author certain personality traits. And obviously I assigned the devil certain personality traits. And just the things that, that Satan was saying was falling out of his mouth. It had me laughing while I was writing the story, because I wasn't expecting this. This wasn't what I had planned, but this is hilarious. That's perfect. So, and it's those stories they really do write themselves. And I really think that they come out the most interesting as well. So you can really tell when someone puts their heart and soul into things.
I had one of those stories just recently. It actually was the one that I had you help me out with, old friends. Like those two, chemistry. Literally, as I was writing it, it just came off like I was literally playing a game of chess against somebody who I've been friends with for years, and they were just, just bantering back and forth, and I'm just like, I like this story. I want to see what happens. And then as I was reading it, because I was racking my brain trying to think of who I wanted to have join me on it, I start hearing your voice as Murdoch, which was the CEO, and I'm just like, oh, I guess I know who's Murdoch now.
Well, I appreciate it. It's always good to come to someone's mind when they're writing a story. And it did feel like it fit me very well. But again, you can always tell, when someone writes a story, or even when they make a movie, and they have a certain actor in mind to play that character, it always comes through better than if they have to use somebody else. So that's really cool.
It was funny because it wasn't I didn't write it for you. I didn't write it for you. After I got done writing it, I was reading it to someone in voice chat, and I start hearing your voice as I'm reading the Murdoch lines, and I'm just like, Yep, this is definitely a perfect role for Sabian. So whenever I asked you to read it, I was very happy that you said you could do it.
It was like putting on a broken-in pair of shoes. It's like, these were made for me. Perfect. So yeah, it slid right into the part, no problem. I'm glad it came out well. I listened to it too. It came out fantastic. So we did a good job putting everything together.
I'm working on part 2, so get ready to reprise your role as Murdoch.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, I wrote a story for Christmas, and everybody said, this has got more to go with it. Yeah, it does. But that spring, I was writing another story for it, and 2 of the characters were discussing something, and something was revealed to me. And I'm going, wait a minute, I need some time away from this. I gotta get that in my head.
That's funny. That's the thing, is that you have to work around it. Like, they presented me with a new topic. Now I need to think about it, and I need to figure out where it's going to go from here, because I have no plans. This is a completely new direction.
Yeah.
Always funny when that happens.
I do feel that though, Mina.
Seth and Mackenzie, I mean, those 2 characters, because they're already well developed from, the Locust Lake series, the end of the Locust Lake series. They have a pretty big backstory.
Yeah.
And they're also based off of 2 television show characters as well. They're already very well developed in their own rights, and the series writes itself. Confronting Evil completely writes itself. It is my favorite series actually to write for now. And it's those 2 characters, like, they just do whatever they want to do. And I don't really have to do anything but just type the words out, because the story's already there. It's one of the easiest things and projects that I've really ever taken on. Really not a whole lot of brain power going into it at all.
I have a question on that, but before we have a question from the chat, from CCG.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a genre that you haven't written a story in, but have always wanted to?
Genres. I mean, there's a lot of genres that I haven't written for, westerns and romances, stuff like that. But as far as ones that I'd like to write for, I've tried my hand here and there at sci-fi. I'd like to get a little bit more into sci-fi, but that I think would be pretty easy, not too much of a challenge, at least for me, as far as like writing it and being comfortable with it, only because sci-fi and horror can be very, very much intertwined. But I'd like to write more fantasy. I did start a fantasy channel. I did write a fantasy story, narrate it, put it up. I haven't put anything more on it yet. I would like to write more fantasy, but it's only because it allows for everything. I mean, fantasy is sci-fi, it's horror,
I was actually going to say I would like to see you write a fantasy story, like, like the whole 9, like freaking like wizards and crap like that. I was like, I would love to see Sabian pull out something out of his imagination with that, because I know it'd be a wicked ride.
Lions and tigers and bears. My!
I started a series with 1 story. And again, I have a whole idea of where I'd like this series to go, but it wouldn't even get fully started until probably about 30 stories in, and then it would really kick off. So we're talking like grand, epic, epic series. Right now, it's just between, the book editing. I'm starting the Confronting Evil Season 1 book in the beginning of March, so that's a couple weeks away. I've got to write for the 13 Days of Halloween. I've got to write the Chronicles of Raybob for this summer. I do have part 1 that's already written. I still have to write the other 3 parts of that. I was thinking about possibly putting out an anthology again this year as well. I don't know if I'm going to or not. Only because and I also have to write for Confronting Evil. I have to finish up Season 1. I have to start Season 2. And it's just between all the projects and finishing up a Halloween book, beginning early October, right after the 13 Days of Halloween, starting the Locust Lake book and getting that out, and then, a couple weeks off and it's into the Confronting Evil book. I might take the latter of this year off for a little bit. It's just because I've been going nonstop at publishing and writing, and could use just a little bit of break from the editing. I think just kind of ease off the gas. Not with the writing, but maybe my next anthology might come next year.
Can I just throw my hat in the ring that if you write a fantasy series that I narrate it?
Sure. I got no problems with that. You know me. If it gets narrated, I would like to narrate it first. But
obviously it's your story. I was just saying I would love to have it on my channel.
Sure.
Like fantasy is my bread and butter in a sense, because I write mythological horror, which mythology is just fantasy.
Yes.
And Lord of the Rings is my all-time favorite book to ever exist for any reason.
That's a good book. Don't have about it. It's a classic for a reason. It's a really good story.
So I would love to have a well-written fantasy series on my channel, and I know anything that comes from you is already going to be well-written.
I try. Fantasy, again, it's a little bit further of a stretch away from horror than science fiction is, at least I feel. But fantasy, again, that's what horror is. Horror is dark fantasy, unless you're talking like true crime, stuff like that. But I kind of feel that that's its own genre in itself. I feel that horror, when you think horror, at least I do, I think fiction. I think dark fantasy, dark fiction, maybe based on some true facts, but mostly to kind of get you thinking, oh, what if? I mean, that's kind of what it's about. But it's always horror's supposed to be about good fun. I mean, at least it is for me. It always has been. It's just good fun. And if you make it all about true, serious, all the really bad things that do happen out there, it's not, at least for me, that's not what the genre's about. It's more like going on a roller coaster or going bungee jumping, where it's scary, but it's also exhilarating, and you know that it's not real. You know that you're not gonna hit the ground, that you're perfectly safe, but it still gives you that jump in the heart. And when it's all over, you're fine. You walk away, and it's something you might even want to do again. But again, I think you get that mostly with fiction than you would with nonfiction, because nonfiction can be, you do hit the ground. I mean, this is what it's like to jump off a bridge, and this is what it's like to hit the ground. It's a little bit of a different take, subgenre, if you would.
But I think for me and you, I think we use horror the same way, because I don't have a problem with the true stuff. I don't particularly enjoy it as much as I do a good fiction story, because for me horror is like escapism. I use it for entertainment, and I use it to just kind of escape the real world. So I don't like it when you throw too much reality into the story.
Exactly. I 100% agree. I do watch a lot of Mr. Ballin, and he does a lot of those real creepy things that happen to people, places you can't go, and I find those completely fascinating. I do. Those stories, the missing 411, I find that stuff really, really fascinating. But I'll take a story like that and be like, all right, now how can I twist this into a fictional story? How can I write a fictional story around this concept? And again, it's kind of like you take a true element of something to kind of get people thinking, like, oh, what if? But you're using that to write a fictional story, so you're still keeping people within that fictional safe zone, I guess you would call it. Right. I don't really want to call it a safe zone. It kind of wraps it in a cuddly little blanket, and they don't.
I think you might enjoy this, Sapien. So I was listening to a song today, right? And essentially one of the lyrics was, I'm a warrior, I walk with the gods. And I just thought to myself, I can make a story out of that. And what I've crafted so far is Artemis has transformed this person into like an alpha werewolf, and she uses it as her warrior to go onto the battlefield and clear foes for her.
I like that concept.
That's exactly how. It's a really good concept, and it's exactly how a lot of people seem to get their story ideas. They say that horror authors kind of typically like look at the world a little bit differently, whereas some people see the spider web and see the fly, like, how terrified he is, and oh my goodness, the fly's going to be eaten by that spider. But the horror author might look at the web and just see the spider, and it's a spider's this is the natural way a spider would look at things, and just because it's terrifying to the fly, it's just normal to the spider.
Exactly.
And that's kind of horror is. It's how you look at it, and it's that dark, macabre twist. I always found it fascinating. I like to be scared.
There was a line, and I'm gonna just say it. I watch Vampire Diaries. I enjoy it, but one of the original vampires was asked, like, was there ever a time since you turned into a vampire that you missed being human? And he was like, just once. And he was like, I was standing outside, this little hummingbird came to me, and he was flapping its wings, and I could hear its little heart just hammering away like a machine gun. And he's like, how? He's like, it was amazing, just how hard this little creature worked to survive. And I'm just like, I can resonate with that statement.
Yeah. It's just things that you look at things in a different perspective than other people might not.
Right.
And maybe other people do and don't necessarily talk about it. But I think that a lot of people have that innate sense of creativity, because creativity in itself kind of spawns from that, where you see something where other people necessarily don't. And that creativity can come in a ton of different forms. Someone who might not write stories, they might do really good artwork, or they might write music, or some people might do a little bit of a few different things. And that's another thing about being a content creator that I've always really enjoyed, is really getting in with the community and just witnessing how many people are so talented in so many different ways. It just never ceases to really amaze me. Yeah, it's very, very cool.
The horror community has such wonderfully gifted people in it. I mean, just in general.
Yeah, it does.
And I've often said, I can't art. I can't do the visual art. What I try to do with my writing, though, is draw a picture in someone's mind so that they see what I'm seeing when I'm writing, and they hear what I hear when I'm writing. And if I achieve that, I feel like I've created my own type of art.
Yep. Well, you're very much correct.
I agree.
That's what the delivery of the story has always really been about. That's how I've always kind of gone about it. I'll witness almost like a movie playing out in my mind, and then I just do my very best to just describe everything that I'm seeing. And if I can, I'll describe it in a way that calls upon people's previous experiences by using certain words or phrases, like here's a great example, like the 1999 series with those childhood kid shows and Mr. Bear. Everybody has a childhood experience like that, with one of those really cheesy basement kid shows that was just, it almost looking back on it, with the Muppets and everything, almost seemed creepy. So by writing a story about that, you bring up people's past experiences, their cognitive schema. It's my favorite concept from psychology. You bring up their schematic functioning, which is how they categorize things in their brains. And by using certain keywords or phrases, you can basically open up those filing cabinets in people's mind, and they start pulling things out of their previous experiences to cross-reference what you're saying, basically creating a picture in their mind that's personal to them based off of things that they've seen or heard or felt. So I try to put those relatable things into a lot of my stories, because I think it helps to create that visual movie in someone's mind.
You just hit on my previous question. I've talked to other authors, and some of them do and some of them don't. But I usually ask, I don't think I ask right, but I usually ask, when you're writing, how does the writing come into your head? And a lot of the things you say, I think you and I have the same thing going on. As we see the movie, we hear the voices, we can. It's like being in a movie theater and you're trying to catch everything with the keyboard or the pen, whichever you're using.
Yes, and I'm not fast enough, so I'm always hitting the rewind button.
Yeah, and then there's other times when you go back and you're editing and you hear one of the characters or more than one of the characters say, "Hey, you missed this, this, and this," and they're pointing out things on the screen.
Yep.
You know, I didn't say that. I said this. You know?
And then there's that, and then there's those times as a writer, because I also visualize what I'm writing, where your brain is just your synapses just firing so fast, and they're sending you so much information. You're sitting there typing, and you look up, and you're like, "Well, I got a lot of editing to do."
So a lot of the times I'll take outline notes, and then as stuff comes to me, I'll just kind of add to those outline notes. So I don't have to kind of keep track of the ideas that keep flying into my head. I can keep working on the story, but I'll place those little note holders at the end.
Yeah.
And if I have to, I'll tweak something. I'll add in a bit of information that I need for a setup later on in the story or something like that. But I think that happens to, I would imagine that happens to a lot of authors, where you're just constantly getting a flow of ideas if you're invested in the story. I think we've all written stories, the people that have written have probably written stories that, maybe you weren't quite as invested in. You're like, well, man, I don't even know. I got to write this story, but man, I don't know how. And you kind of almost have to muscle through it. Trying to figure out which way it's going to go, how it's going to come out. But then there's other stories where it's like a bolt of lightning. I think, what was it, a couple of weeks ago? I wrote 5,000 words in one writing session. I haven't done that in a long time. I haven't done that in a really long time. But I just couldn't stop. It just kept coming out of me. I was like, I got to keep going. It was just freaking flowing. So sometimes it happens, and sometimes you got to muscle through it. But there's always tricks either way.
I had one of those actually come up where it was the pipes. It was a story that I wrote based off a childhood fear of mine, where if I didn't get out of the shower fast enough and get dried off and changed, there was going to be this tentacle that was going to pop up and just pull me down into the pipes. Don't judge me. I watched a lot of horror as a child. Children's imaginations are scary places. And so I wrote a story based upon that, where like this house was built on top of like this creature's home, and it let them live there in peace as long as they didn't disturb it for too long a time. And I had to muscle through that story because I just kept going, I don't know if his story's any good. I don't know. But by the time I was done with it, I let someone read it. They're like, "This is one of the best things you've ever wrote."
Yep. Even sometimes when you got to muscle through it, it still comes out really good. One of the stories that I wrote in the past, Dissonant Whispers in the Northern Woods, I again had to grind my way through that story. And I really didn't even like it too much when it was done, but when I went back and narrated it, I was like, holy shit. And it instantly has become like my go-to, like one of my favorite stories. If I'm not suggesting Locust Lake to somebody, because maybe they don't want to get invested in a series, like that's a story that I'll say, here's a one-off story. Go listen to Dissonant Whispers in the Northern Woods. Because it came out really good. And sometimes stories like that, they surprise you. I think it's the effort that ends up really coming through.
Right.
Whether you get by a bolt of lightning and you're just pumping out the words, or you have to muscle through it. Either way, if you're putting in that effort, it shines through.
Have you ever had a combination of that before, where it's like part of the story, you're like, I'm really into the story, and then you get past that part, and then you had to muscle through the next part, and then you got attached to another part of the story, and you need to start hammering out words again?
Part of my rewrites are a lot like that, where I'll get really into a story and I'll start writing, and then 6 pages later I realize I'm not even to the first setup yet. It's like, and I listened to like a half an hour of absolutely just nothing but backstory. So we got to trim this down. We got to go back. And that's where I'll start. Like, if I don't go back and rewrite immediately, I might start grinding because I took too long. And then if I go back to it though and start over, like maybe condense that beginning part in a shorter exposition and then kind of move forward from there, I tend to find that at that point, yes, then it picks right back up again and all of a sudden my fingers are flying at 90 miles an hour.
Creepy Clown Girl has another question. As one of the authors of Locust Lake, at any point in writing the series, did you find yourself being more relatable to Casper or Jacob?
I'm going to say before he answers, I'm going to say it's Casper.
If Doughboy was here, I'm sure that he would have a different answer. I'm going to say yes. I mean, I obviously feel very connected to Jacob.
Oh, really? Damn, was wrong.
He's the one that I created for Locust Lake, and
Casper is Doughboys.
That's the one I probably feel the most, connected to as far as villains wise, as relatable to. Only because I really don't want to say his backstory is my backstory, because I gave him a pretty sad and just pathetic childhood, and my childhood was not sad and pathetic, but there are elements to that backstory that I shared with him. I wanted to kind of mix it a little bit with myself, and then like a Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees backstory, something that's kind of tragic, and kind of makes the killer a victim in his own right. That's probably why I feel that connection towards him. I didn't get to do that for Casper, and I didn't get to do that for the lady, for Dr. Clark. Did help create the Lady of the Water. Hasn't been a whole lot of backstory put on that because it was already in the origin story, and that's kind of the manipulator behind the strings. But Shiloh, the Ahab of the series, for obvious reasons. Shiloh, I'm very invested in the Shiloh character. Had certain rules, certain things can be done, certain things can't be done, but that's because she's named after my daughter, so I'm biased.
I think there are characters that we all find in our writing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that if we put a lot of ourselves in.
I can definitely agree with that.
Those characters are the ones that we gravitate towards, and we give the most investment to, and we feel, I don't want to leave this story because I love this character so much.
I'm with myself.
I will say, the saving the story that me and you did, the other character, the way the way he carried himself, his mannerisms, even the way he plays chess and just loves to solve puzzles, I sort of modeled that character after myself, because I put a lot of my character and personality into the the counterpart of that story. And I don't know if you noticed that or not.
I did. I very much. I noticed that in a lot of people's stories. I assume a lot of people do that. I guess I've really never commented on it. Because I do that with everything. The story I wrote with the author that is interacting with the devil, I said that I gave them both character traits. I gave them both my character traits. It was basically my id arguing with my ego through the whole story. There's the monster of Popelet Creek, Tim, in that story. He has my personality, very much so. There's a lot of my stories. I really think that if you listen to my channel and my stories, you'll get a really good sense of who I am as a person, because there's so many bits of myself littered in every single one of my videos that you could kind of piece together the entire picture of me.
Right. Hello, Fearsome, and for anybody that's just tuning in, we she came into the chat and goes, Sabian, and then she's like, ooh, Echo, and Sabian is having some mic issues due to the weather. We tried to get them fixed before the show, but we didn't want to put him off. And we're trying to work with them. I hope you guys can hear me as well. Last week I had trouble with my mic.
But yeah, see, I mean, I try to keep myself out of the story unless I think that character would add something to there. But I always do give them a certain bit of my sarcasm.
There's so many.
To. Like that's an old writer's role, right? Like you write what you know. And
I know sarcasm.
You know yourself best, right? So it's easier to it's that's the thing. It's an easier way to convey a character's personality if it's a personality that you really, really know.
Right.
So I do the same thing with my friend.
I got dragged into a book lately. I'm really having a trouble putting it down. And ironically enough, it's not really a horror book. And I don't really go for this genre that well. But basically the main character is from our world. And she was killed in her life. And she woke up in a book that she was reading. And she had to, she knew so much of the story. She wasn't the main character or anything. She was sort of like a sideline character that, was in the background and everything. And so she started taking advantage of what she knew about the world. And she changed the story so much that she became one of the main characters. She's literally taken the place of one of the main characters, and redone the story. And she changed the ending, and she changed all sorts of parts just by making little tiny changes to her character. And I think that's kind of what we get into when we talk about time travel. If you make a little change here, it could ripple effect out, that butterfly effect. Ooh, don't hit the mic. I make hand gestures you guys can't see here. And it ripples out and it changes other things. And, or this one person that kind of didn't have this significant part suddenly has taken over the timeline. But yeah, and I'm like, how can I turn this into one of my stories?
Time travel is always a tough thing to work in. I've attempted a time travel story probably about 2 or 3 times now. And for me anyway, it's just hard to keep track of everything. It's hard to get my brain around it and see that movie play out. So it's harder to get for one though.
But yeah, back to writing what you know. I always get told by my dad, he's like, by the age of 12, you had a doctorate in sarcasm, and I'm just like, is that a good thing?
Probably the best thing to have a doctor.
I used to read the dictionary in high school just to insult people in such a manner that they didn't understand that they were being insulted.
Insulted.
That's
funny. I kind of do that naturally on my own without meaning to. The books and stuff I've read and all the writing that I do, I'll talk and they're like, "Oh, are you talking down to me? You have to use big words." I'm like, I'm just the way I talk.
So, one of the people in my life that died recently is another YouTuber by the name of Schrodinger's cat.
Sorry, that's very sad to hear.
And one of the things that he one of the stories that he used to tell was he got sick when he was I think it was high school. It might have been younger than that. But he wasn't able to talk. He wasn't able to get out of bed and do things. So what he did was he read the dictionary. He spent the whole time he was sick reading the dictionary. And so when he was talking, he would have these ums and so automatically I do it right. He would say, he would come up with a way to say things while he was saying those ums, and he described the ums, and I think, I know Sabian does it, I know I do it, I know PA does it. You use that time to keep the listener invested in what you're saying while your head catches up with your mouth and tells you which words go together to say what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And sometimes whenever there's an or a I take that and I just I just, especially if it's like evil dialogue, I'll just like and I'll just let the character just do like an evil snarky laugh, and then usually there's something that comes with it that it's just meant to make people laugh.
And it's like the biggest thing I actually always admired about Lovecraft. He was really good about not just his ideas, but how he got there. He always seemed to it was almost like an artist. The way he put his sentences together, the point is just as awesome as the way he put the words together to form the sentence. Amazing. Love it.
It was never word garbage. It was always, every word was like calculated to give you this.
Yep. Every word was completely important. Yeah, 100% agree. I love Lovecraft. He's like my mentor.
Yeah.
I have a story I'm working on, right? And I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be a short, like 1,200 word story. 1,266 words later, I'm finally done with the intro.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like me.
CCG.
I wrote a Christmas story. Go on. Sorry
CCG says, Sabian gave me one of many good advice. He told me to let the characters write the story. And that's always, people say they outline it and everything. And yeah, outlining works and everything as far as, I usually know where the story's going to end. But I'm not all that clear of what's happening between the beginning and the ending.
Nope. That's the thing. Well-developed characters will surprise you.
Oh, yeah. Fearsome says, Sabian is a wise person with lots of good advice. We love a writer who is super sweet, and he is super sweet.
Well, thank you very much. That's very, very much appreciated. Both of you. I try to give good advice. I give advice. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. But I do tend to give lots of advice.
You give good advice.
Very much.
Dark Little Voices says pretty much Fearsome, and hi, Dark Little Voices. Welcome.
Hey, Dark Little Voices. What's going on, sexy?
I know I'm kind of. Maybe I could get you guys to kind of help me. I've got 2 poems that I've pulled out of my Edgar Allan Poe collections for Musie's birthday collab. And I don't know, if you had to choose a poem, a horror poem, to to read to somebody for their birthday, who would be the author, number 1, and number 2, what poem would it be?
I'm stubborn, so I would probably write something myself.
Answer for.
Well, see, that was my first thing, and then I was like, I've got all this other stuff to do, and I'm really trying to get my channel back going, and Poe is always my go-to for yeah,
Of course.
Poe or Shakespeare,
Yes,
and
I would say, like,
Opposed to the Telltale Heart, it works.
that's a fantastic story.
oh, isn't it?
I would have to say Doughboy 420's Revelations in Tartarus. It's a 63-page epic poem that is very much like a mirror of Dante's Inferno.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Like the first part of it is coming out this coming Tuesday. And it's, I don't know, I think it's like 19 parts long or something like that. It's absolutely huge. So, yeah, I'd have to go with that one, just to be different.
One of the things that Poe did, and I've actually seen other authors do this, not so much modern authors, but older authors, is he would write a poem and it would end up in a story later. So like The Fall of the House of Usher, which is one of my favorites by him. That and the Strange Case of M. Valdemar. You know that one. A lot of people don't know that one, but and the Cask of Amontillado. Yeah, I could just name all of them right now. But this, one of the ones I'm looking at, it ended up as a song in The Fall of the House of Usher, which was written by Roderick Usher, who is the friend of your main protagonist. And he did that. He would have it fall into, a poem would fall into it. The Conquering Worm that was in Ligeia was actually a poem that was written like almost 4 or 5 years later. It's just earlier, I should say. Earlier, not later. But it's just interesting to, look at, we learn from those authors, though. We learn from Poe, we learn from Dickens, we learn from Shakespeare. We learn from them when they do things like that, because we're like, okay, how could I kind of pull that in?
I'm gonna be real. I've never read like
Clive Barker didn't take a page from that. Because Clive Barker, again, and Stephen King too. A lot of the times their short stories, which are only a couple pages long, end up into full movie adaptations or books or something along those lines, like Silver Bullet or The Midnight Meat Train. Those are just short stories written by both those authors that ended up turning into like these epic, full, movies, which turned out great. I think that's, I think a lot of YouTubers seem to do that. I know I do that, but not in the same way they do. More or less kind of flesh out a mythos instead of fleshing out an original idea. But that's something to really explore, and I haven't really thought about it too much before, so I'm going to see if I can incorporate this approach, because now I'm interested.
We lost you there. Oh no, did he lose his mic completely? No, he got muted.
Yeah, I muted myself. I didn't know if the echo was because not just me, but also maybe because I'm not muted when others are talking. So if you see me muted, don't panic.
Okay.
Trying to help.
A question from Dark Little Voices. And this is actually to all of us. What was your favorite story to write? I think I know Sabian's, but we'll let him answer that.
What was my favorite story to write? Always really, really enjoyed the Locust Lake series. That was and still is very, very near to my heart. Locust Lake is very, very much a real place, and it's basically where I grew up. So a lot of the characters and the scenery, the environments, they're all very special and personal to me. Now, it's confronting evil, and that's basically because it's confronting, or it's Locust Lake hits the road, so it's still Locust Lake, kind of, but it's mixed with supernatural. And I really love Supernatural, and I really miss Supernatural, so I brought it back. I love that series, but yeah, that's the series I like writing for.
Okay, PA, your turn.
What was the question?
What story was your favorite to write?
Favorite to write. I think the answer would have been different a while back ago because it used to be passing the mantle, but I think right now it has to be Old Friends, just because I'm delving into like this sci-fi world based upon one of my favorite animes, which is Code Geass. I'm taking out the magical element, and I'm just adding in more human, more human elements, but just the way the one character maneuvered his subordinates like chess pieces just was something I was just like, I want to make a story out of that. So I'm currently working on a series. I have zero idea what I'm going to call the series. I think the next part of it is going to be called The Rebellion, just plain and simple, because that's how spoiler alert, that's how Old Friends ended, was with the two friends actually starting a rebellion and trying to bring down this oppressive government. So I'm just really having fun with the chess element of that story, and then just adding in the mechs and stuff. It's just a lot of fun as well.
Fearsome, I'm jealous. Fearsome got a new PC to play with VR set with.
Nice.
That's awesome. I just got a new game for my VR headset.
Oh, what'd you get?
I got Zenith. And I know a lot of people aren't too happy. It seems to be split, like 50-50. Some people, it's like the most awesome thing in the world, and some people don't like it for basically the same reasons. Some people like it because it's so immersive, and the systems can be pretty complex and really involving. And other people don't like that fact. And that's just like one example, but I love it. It's very much Sword Art Online. Mixed with like maybe a final. The world map. This is in VR. I've heard it's 50 kilometers by 50 kilometers wide. I don't know if that's true, but I've seen the world map and how far I've ventured into it so far and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty accurate. I had a very funny experience last night actually in that game. I kind of wandered out of bounds, and in VR. Went into like this place like level 25 I'm supposed to be, but I'm like, I really want to see the castle. It's in the middle of this map. Ended up running into somebody. They were really surprised I made it that far. Checked out this castle. I stole some really high level loot from behind this guard. He didn't even see me. So I end up flying through this forest, and I'm like, what's this over here? And I look at it, and I'm flying close. It's an Amazon village. And there's all these Amazons walking around. So I fly, and I hang off the side of this catwalk. I'm looking around, pick my head up over the corner, and there's this Amazon lady staring right at me. So I take off flying. I'm running through this Amazon village, and there's people chucking spears at me and sicking their dogs after me, and I'm jumping from roof to... It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. It's a great game. It's a very cool game. So if you have a VR headset, get Zenith. It's awesome.
Hey, Reaper.
Go on, Reaper.
That sounds like it'd be fun. And yeah, no VR headset for me for a while. I still have to pay off my roof. As far as the question for me, it's a story you guys have not heard with characters that you guys don't know. It is still my favorite story. The characters are so close to me, it's not funny. And I mean, I just feel comfortable with them. It's like every time I sit down and write, and I'm rewriting it, that's why it hasn't been published, Sabian. I finished writing it when I was 28 years old. The first story. And it's more than 300 pages long. And literally, I can sit down and start writing in that world, and I'm home. It's like I'm back where I belong. And that's just, I think that's what makes those stories our favorite. You're kind of the big thing in VR chat. Okay, Fearsome.
That
We're coming up.
sounds amazing. can't wait to read them. Like, get it published. I want to read it.
It's coming. It's just I started going through it to put it into the tool I use because I've lost the software copy of the story. I have the hardware. I have the printouts, in other words. But I was like, I write so different now, and I'm more expressive and everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to add. I'm gonna have to rewrite this. So yeah. And PA, I don't know what you're doing, but you're whispering.
I was just looking at something. Jesus Christ, how much more?
So, would you say you loved your story because it's therapeutic? Yes. Yeah. That's what other thing I was getting ready to say, Sabian. Part of that story was written while I was growing up, obviously. I was, a teenager, coming into being 20, having 2 children, having a failed marriage, going to college. All these other things were going on in the background while I was writing the story. And there's pages of that story that don't exist anymore because I destroyed them because I was killing my ex-husband, or I was taking care of a problem that was going through my head at the time. And I think that's why it kind of is home, because I was able to do that type of thing with it.
I was gonna say that's why it's such a safe place for you. That's good. It's really good. That makes you want to read it more. That doesn't help.
Sorry. So yeah, we've got about 5 more minutes, guys. Sorry, no warning. Sabian, PA has a question that he always asks, and then we've still got Jellybean's question.
I have 3 questions to ask, so I'll just ask them all in a row. Because I know for Sabian, at least the 2 of them will be quick answers. So Sabian, Dean or Sam?
Oh, Dean. All the way.
Oh, everybody's against me.
My boy. So,
personal personality traits with Dean.
Yeah, right. Dean, I just resonate with Dean on a spiritual level. So Rohan or Gondor?
Oh, Gondor. I'm a Gondor guy.
Okay.
I'm a Rohan guy because I like the horse lords.
Oh boy, different factions over here.
I have such a hard time choosing between those 2, so I don't do it.
And then the final question. So we have been thrust into a brand new hellscape, Sabian. Alligators and crocodiles can now fly. How does humanity fare?
That is a really good question. My perspective, I mean, it really kind of depends on your perspective. I think most of humanity would be absolutely doomed, but I think intelligence would flourish because it's still just an alligator and such with wings. So, I mean, if you're smart enough, I'm sure you'd be okay, but maybe some people might not. It could be good.
So I'm figuring, because this is got to be a mutation, that what happens if they continue to mutate and then they eventually get bigger and can breathe fire, and then we got full-blown dragons on our hands?
Yeah.
Then I'd be wondering where my mutation is, because I want wings.
I'm with you.
Wait, what did Sabian say?
He wants wings.
I want wings. Give me.
He wants wings.
Where's my mutation, damn it? Alligators get to have
look, bro, if alligators mutate, I'm making sure I steal one of their eggs and have a...
Dude, hell yeah.
I'm just straight up like, it's like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna beat these creatures? And I just come in flying on a dragon, just start slaughtering things, and I'm like, we tame them.
It's a good idea, PA.
You don't even tame them. You just kind of
this one
become
imprinted
their
upon
friends.
me at birth.
Become their friends. And like I told you, I was reading the book about the Dragon King, and so forth, and he really didn't tame them so much as he became a friend to them and a protector to them. He wasn't able to change and turn into a dragon, although that's kind of what I wanted when I started the book. But he had thousands of dragons that he took care of in this shelter of sorts, and that was the safe place for them, and they respected him, and it wasn't so much they took orders from him, but they would work with him.
Yeah. Well, this one, the reason the dragon obeys me is, because, it imprinted upon me at birth.
Yeah, well, you stole the egg.
Hey, I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna hurt the poor guy. I'm gonna treat him good. He's my buddy. We're gonna be equals. I'm gonna treat him good. Don't worry. So
Sabian, do you have any questions for us?
Well, I would like to know, Mia, when you are planning, when you think that story might be available, for the rest of us, or even just myself, to read. That's my question for you. And PA, when are you going to be publishing your first book?
Mia, you want to go first since he asked you?
Okay. That story, because like I said, I started writing that when I was like 16, and I was 28 when I finished it. I hope it doesn't take me that long to rewrite it, but I'm thinking probably a year and a half. However, first book, is in the works. I'm hoping to have it out this year.
What? You have a book in the works? Oh, I'm excited. Take my money. That's awesome. Very, very.
Okay, so PA, your turn.
So, since my sister is the editing brain behind the stories, I'm going to make a list of stories that I want her to just go over one more time, making sure they're just make sure they're edited properly, and that they much like you all want to go over them with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure they're good to go. And then I'm going to do that over the summer. Since she's a school teacher and she has off during the summer, she'll have more time to help me out with it. And then I plan on as long as that goes smoothly, I plan on trying to get it out probably in the winter.
Dude, that's awesome. So you're going to be releasing an anthology. You're planning an anthology. Again, let me know as soon as there's a link. And if you need help, getting the thing published or whatever, just let me know. I'm more than happy to help.
Absolutely. Thank you. I always appreciate your help, man.
And dude, I always try and pay it forward. The community, you, me, everybody has done so much for me. Basically allowed me to become a horror author, which is something I've always wanted to do. So if there's any way that I can possibly even start to pay that back and pay that forward, by all means, I'll jump into that head first.
I'm just stoked. I found you because I didn't even know you back when you were sociopathic pasta. I just heard there's this new horror narrator, CleavingThought from Bone. Someone's like, he's not new, and he's new to me. Not
everybody's heard of my old channel, and that's perfectly fine. That's actually one of the advantages. At least that's how I see it. There's a whole lot of new people that get to experience things like the Locust Lake series that otherwise wouldn't have gotten a chance to experience them. So I think it's it's a good opportunity. I've seen a lot of old faces and a lot of new faces. I do know that I've heard of you before I came out with my new channel, because I knew your name through your writings. So
and it was funny because I think it worked to our advantage, because you were relatively, you weren't like super big, but you were bigger, and there's a lot of the what is it, like, just the shock and awe, or like, oh, he's so big, why would he want to talk to me kind of mentality going on. I just kind of met you as you were starting that channel, and we just became really good friends, and I'm like, you know what, I think that was like a unique opportunity that I've come to really appreciate.
And that's something I've always tried to convey to, like, it doesn't matter if I have 20 subscribers, 2,000 subscribers, or 20,000 subscribers. It doesn't matter to me. I've always made sure I'm the same person across the board, because that's what's been important to me, interacting with other content creators, like people that I look up to, people that I emulate and think are really awesome. And to me, they're almost famous. They're like a celebrity. And if those people, they treat me in a bad way, or they just ignore me, or consider me unimportant, or they're too big to talk, that bothers me. And most people aren't like that. I very rarely run into that, but I have. And I think a lot of people, probably have it as well. And it's just, I never want to be that guy. I never want to be the guy that, I do this because I want to make money. I want to be a YouTube personality, or I do this because I want to be famous, or I'm better than you because I have more subscribers, or that doesn't matter. All that negates the point of putting the content out there.
Right.
That's why I don't really care about the YouTube subs or the view. Like, forget about why YouTube. Why am I not focused on book sales? Why am I not focused on Daily Motion or my podcasts, or just get it all out there? And then people are, well, you only have this many views on YouTube. Yeah, but you don't know what I have on my podcast. You don't know what I have book sales. You don't know. So all that kind of gets spread all over, and the only thing I have to give up is how big I look, or how important I might look by my subscriber count. And the only person that matters to would be me, if that mattered at all. And it doesn't. It's not about that. It's just about putting the content out there. I just want to contribute.
Yeah, I know I know how you are with compliments, but you are one of the authors that I look up to, and I like, whenever I write, I try to like up my standards by like reading your stuff and going, that's what I want this to come off as. Like, I want it to be epic like this. So I don't use you as a stick of measurement, but I use you as like motivation.
Motivation and inspiration.
I never saw coming. Ever. Like, I've had people reach out to me and say that, I've helped them with their writing. I've had, just by reading and doing the stuff that I do, or I've had people say that I've helped them with their lives, helped them through a difficult time, helped them get through school, helped them through a traumatic event. And that's something I never get on YouTube and expect, like, this. That's why I'm reading this story, because someday it could possibly help somebody through a traumatic that's the biggest reward, and it's the one that I've never saw coming at all. And I get it a lot, like at least once a month. Sometimes it's multiple times a week, but it's on average probably about once a month, and that's the most rewarding thing for me. I don't care how big I am. I don't care about my name specifically being known. Just let the stories be known. Get the stories out there.
There's a few narrators I use. I listen whenever, and Mina knows this. Whenever my anxiety gets to be like to a point where I can't bear it, and like, it's a very short list. It's Raven, it's Vidith, creepy ghost stories, and I use if I don't,
not even me,
and if I've already listened to all this stuff, I go to Sabian. You haven't posted any new stuff recently. I do listen to your old stuff though.
Yeah, I feel like I have to explain that, and I don't know if I'm going to do it on the channel or not. But last year, I was so sick for most of the year that making Saturday was just doing good for me.
Yeah. No, you don't. So you don't have to explain anything. Just literally just say life got in the away. That's all the explanation that people need. Like, if I just stopped uploading and people ask why, I'm like, life.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, life does take. That's actually why I upload 3 weeks ahead of time. So right now I have all my videos up for next week, all my videos up for the week after, and most of the videos up for the week after that. I'm working on the Saturday video. That's 3 weeks up. So if I do need to take a day, if there's something that happens, at least I got a little bit of a buffer. But it did take a lot of work to create that buffer, because I had to put in those 3 weeks worth of work.
I want to get there.
I want to get to the point where, like, I spend like every single day, at least like in 7 days, I every day I record a new story. That way, I'm a week. I'm literally like 2.5 weeks ahead of schedule. Like, that way, if something happens, I can, I need a day or two to just breathe. I have that buffer. But all right, guys, it is 7:40, so we are gonna end the show because Mia's got things to do, and Sabian has a premiere to attend to that is starting in 20 minutes.
Yes,
I hope you all can be there.
Tell us about it.
Sorry, I got all excited. It's Confronting Evil. I'm so excited. It's we're marking the second half of the first season tonight, and it's one that I wrote, so I'm like all super stoked. Confronting Evil, yay!
Okay, so
hey, shameless plug. I'm in this one.
So everybody go and check out the premiere.
Also, if you all have some extra cash and you want to show some love to our boy Sabian, again, he does have a new book out, and he has a lot of other books if you don't have them. All of them are in hardback, paperback, and Kindle. Kindle is like $5 if I remember correctly. It's very affordable. He keeps it cheap for a reason. Definitely check him out.
Now I want hardbacks of all the books.
Yeah, right. That's my next project. Is I'm literally rebuying all of Sabian's books, and I'm literally rebuying all of Sabian's books in hardback.
That is not why I went back and did them all. Just wanted to put that. I'm like,
bro, I told you if you redid them all in hardback, I was going to buy them again. Do you not recall that statement?
I do actually mention it, and it's not why I went back and did it, but I had a lot of people asking, like, do they come in hardbacks? Do they come in hardcover? I'm like, yes, I can make them. Fine, I'll go back. I'll make them all in hardcover. So not all
and if I can't get them all like right away, I'm gonna make sure I at least get all the Locust Lake books in hardcover. That way, I have the whole set in hardback.
I mean, that's a good place to start for sure. The 2 Locust Lake books put together are
massive.
You have the first one already. I mean, that's a pretty big book in itself.
Yeah, I'm stoked, man. I can't even tell you how excited I am to get it.
It's quite the collection. So,
but
cool stuff.
But as always, guys, if you're interested in doing a show here, just let one of us know. Me, Mia, Filia, Raven, 42. You know the spiel. We'll get you set up with a time frame that you just tell us your show idea. We'll get you set up with a time frame, and you'll be good to go. And if you just have a video that doesn't fit your channel, but you really are excited to do it, and you just want to upload it here, we will upload videos up here. So just let us know.
And Sabian, I'm looking forward to tonight. I may not make the premiere, but I will definitely be listening to it. I listened to The Swamp earlier today and made a comment, and somebody, the last commenter before me, was like, "Oh my gosh, you're back! I just found you again," and I was like, "Cool."
I'm still getting people from my old channel, still discovering me. It's like 3 years later. Yeah. And it's always cool to see those comments. I'm like, yay, someone found me again. But I did see your comment on the Swamp. You got a chance to check that one out. I really liked that story. Doughboy did such a great job with it.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know if you, because I haven't been on Twitter since
I don't have
this, dude. But I'm going to go tweet out the premiere. That way, and remember to share it out.
Thank you. And I will see you there.
All right.
All right.
And all our listeners, I hope you if you're listening to this in the replay, I hope you go and check out this whole series. Confronting Evil is amazing series. So is Locust Lake, but yeah, they're both great. They're intermeshed with each other. You just PA, what have you got coming this week? Anything?
I have a story. I have two stories, actually. One of them is from Dark Hero XX, which is called, I think it's called They Are Everywhere. Why can't I find my Google Docs? What's going on here? My Google Docs just straight up disappeared. I'm very confused as to what's going on right now.
Oh, I hope it's not Google having problems.
Let's hope not.
We all cringe, every one of us.
I will figure this out.
I've got two collabs that I have to send stuff in for this week, and I plan to actually have a video out, but it's not going to be like my normal videos, and I apologize for that right now, but it's something I have to do.
Makes sense.
So yeah, but hopefully I'll have. I've got one of Raven's stories 3/4 of the way recorded, and I've got another one I'm working on sound effects on.
Loves me some sound effects.
All right. I don't know where it went, but so the first one is called They Are Everywhere. That one's from Dark Hero XX. And then the other one is from Sleeping Wendigo. It's The Monster of Hell's Lake.
Ooh. All right. So, as usual, you all know the drill. Once you join the collective, you can leave. Nevermore.
Nevermore.